Stony! Where are you? Brought the album. Oh, hey, thanks, man. I got something for you, too. Hold on. Thanks. Where's Paul? What do you mean? He was here a minute?
Haha! Enjoy Backstreet, Boomer!
Zoomer? I got it. This girl's name is Marijuana. Zoomer, what are you doing here?
I thought there was cake.
There was cake, but none for you, you little thief. Go sit down and time out, nipplehead.
Time out, dude.
Jeez, Gramps, chill your liver, am I right? Stupid Boomer, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. What? Why am I even here right now? I don't have to take this. Hey, Stony! Come on!
Okay. Oh yeah! Hey YouTube, welcome back to Russ Reviews. Today we are finally getting around to doing our 1,000 subscriber special. We are also going to be celebrating my birthday, which happened 3 days ago. Or, well, today's September 29th, so I don't know when this is going up, but it was September 26th. So, Cupcake is here to help me review the 1978 release of Kiss's 4 solo studio albums, and we're going to do this a little bit differently than we normally would. It's not going to be that much different, so the 5 people that watch these videos, stay in your seats. We are going to do the artwork, and then we're going to do the songs, and then we're going to do the packaging, but here's how we're going to do it today. We're going to do the artwork all together, so we're going to show you all 4 albums. We're going to do the songs individually, so we're going to do how they hold up over time at the same time. So if we pick Aces first, we're going to do Aces based on songs, and then how it holds up over time, set it aside, do the rest of the band members, and then we're going to come back, and at the end of the video, we're going to rate which albums we think from worst to best, and we're going to give our reasoning for that. Also, if you guys can't see, we're peeping new Rad Russ merch. So we're going to tag our friend Kelly, who made these for us. Let us know in the comments if you're interested in buying a shirt. We were doing a trial run to see if people wanted to see them, but I've got the white one on, John's got the black one on, and we hope you enjoy them. So first up, we've got Mr. Gene Simmons' solo album. And by the way, these aren't all complete, so we do have the CDs. When we show pictures of the posters, or we show a picture of all 4 posters at the end, that's where they're going to be from. We're too poor to buy the complete editions, so people subscribe and give us money. Next up is Peter's solo album, followed by Mr. Paul Stanley's solo album, and last but not least we have Mr. Ace Frehley's solo album. So they're all in the shop right now. They all have the same inserts. They come with the 4 faces here, so that's what the sleeves look like. They have an order sheet that came with the 4 solo albums, so you have the stuff here that you can order. It blows my mind that you can get a t-shirt back in '78 for $5. And then they usually had a poster. Now you guys can correct me in the comment section below, but Peter's actually has it's kind of like a lyric sheet, but I'm not really sure what this is, but if this was in my copy of Peter Criss. The posters are definitely cool. We'll cut to a shot of those here. And what's really cool about the posters is that the ones that came with the albums actually had like triangles and squares and like half circles to line them up, so they were a sequence. The problem is the posters that came in these albums, other than even Peter's has the poster, but it's ripped. and Paul's has the poster in there. It's not ripped, but it's very hard to find them because everyone hung them up because they were so cool. But for me, for artwork, these will score I'd probably give them an 8 out of 10 because, I mean, they're iconic covers and the posters are kick-ass, but there's nothing crazy going on for them, you know.
Yeah, I'll second that. 8 out of 10 is pretty solid for these.
But with that said, guys, we're going to slide into songs, and we're going to toss aside 3 of these albums right now, and we're going to talk about Gene Simmons' solo album.
Alright, now we have the history for Gene Simmons' solo album. Gene Simmons is a 1978 solo album by Gene Simmons, the bassist and co-vocalist of the American hard rock band Kiss. It was one of the 4 solo albums released by the members of Kiss on September 18th, 1978, reaching number 22 on the US Billboard charts. It was the highest placing of all 4 Kiss solo albums. That's what it says on Wikipedia, but whatever. Mainly a hard rock album, it also features choirs and strings, including Beatles-inspired pop, 1970s funk, and rock and roll, and trash. The label was Casablanca, and the producers were Gene Simmons and Sean Delaney. And the only single released from this album was Radioactive, because it was the only good song.
Alright, so to start off with the songs, off the bat, this is the worst solo album of the 4. It's all over the place in terms of its musical style, and I don't know how this was the highest scoring on the Billboard top charts. I seriously don't understand it. It's probably because he paid so many people to work with him on the album. For the tracks on the album, we have Radioactive, Burning Up with Fever, See You Tonight, Tunnel of Love, and True Confessions on side 1.
Side 2 is Living in Sin, Always Near You / Nowhere to Hide, Man of a Thousand Faces, Mr. Make Believe, See You in Your Dreams, and When You Wish Upon a Star.
And so the best song off of this album is probably Radioactive, and unfortunately they put it as the first song that you hear, because you hear that and you're like, oh, this album's gonna be good, and then it's just like, right off.
Burning Up with Fever.
That's pretty good too.
It's good.
Yeah, I think Radioactive's better.
Yeah, and then See You Tonight.
That's alright too.
It's okay, and then Tunnel of Love sucks.
It just progressively gets worse.
True Confessions was literally awful.
I have for my notes on my phone here, decent songs. Radioactive was the best on the album, obviously. Followed by Burning Up with Fever, which was a good song. It was a good way to close out Radioactive. See You Tonight was a good song. Mr. Make Believe was See You in Your Dreams was a decent song. The rock riff was heavy. The female vocals ruined the song. That was on Rock and Roll Over. That was one of my notes. Is the Rock and Roll Over version was better.
Right.
And then When You Wish Upon a Star, it's a good song for what it is, but the problem is Gene was the demon and he's singing a Disney song. You know, so I understand that like the solo albums were trying to show like the different musical tastes of the band, but I just feel like this combination of music did not show off Gene well. And a lot of like reviews that or at least I've seen online, they put Gene's above Peter's. And the sole reason I don't think it should be above Peter's is 1, Peter has more songs on it that are actually consistent and good, and 2, this album cost probably 10 times as much to produce, like 10 times more to produce than Peter's did. So you would think the more money you spend on production, the better the album would be, but not in this case. I'm actually shocked that was the highest scoring on the Billboard charts.
No way.
I can't believe that. That's like astounding to me.
Like even Peter's isn't great, but it's
sounds
more solid, yeah.
Honestly, I hate to do this to a Kiss album, but I'm thinking like a 6 out of 10 for songs on this. Actually, you know what? That's really generous. I'm thinking like a 5.
I'm thinking like a 3.
You're at a 3?
I'm at a 3.
You know what? I'm thinking a 3, like a 3.5. I don't think I can give it a 3.
Okay.
Just because there is, in terms of musical ability, there is music there. It's just so.
It's all wasted potential, is what it is.
Yeah, but in terms of how it's going to hold up over time, it's going to be a 4 out of 10 for me. I'm giving it a 3 out of 10 for songs too. The more that I've thought about it,
I'm gonna honestly, and this is sad. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10.
For how it's held up over time. This had all the right ingredients to be a really good album. I don't understand what he was thinking, because Radioactive
is good.
Radioactive is the perfect blend of hard rock, great riffs, decent solo, and that Gene demon. Like when you first start up and you hear that demon voice, like the, and then the rest of the album, you know, he ends it with When You Wish Upon a Star. Like, come on, Gene, what are you doing? So with that said, guys, we're gonna pull out Peter Criss's solo album next.
All right, Peter Criss is the 1978 solo album by Peter Criss. The drummer of the hard rock band Kiss, all 4 albums were released on September 18, 1978. The label was Casablanca, like all the others, and the producer was Vinnie Poncia. And lastly, the singles from the album were Don't You Let Me Down and You Matter to Me.
Alright, so we've got, as coming up, coming up next is Peter Criss's solo album. And before we jump into songs, I just want to say that this is probably one of the, in terms of listening, it's probably the easiest listening of the 4 solo albums. For songs, let's read off the track listings. I'll do side 1 and then I'll have Cupcake do side 2. So starting off side 1, we have I'm Gonna Love You, followed by You Matter to Me, followed by Tossin' and Turnin', followed by Don't You Let Me Down, and closing up side 1, That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes.
Side 2 starts with Easy Thing, Rock Me Baby, Kiss the Girl Goodbye, Hooked on Rock and Roll, and I Can't Stop the Rain.
Great songs off the album for me were I'm Gonna Love You, followed by You Matter to Me, followed by Tossin' and Turnin', followed by That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes. I Can't Stop the Rain is another great song, and it's my favorite song off of the album, and a lot of you guys that watch the live streams will understand why. That's that typical like classic southern rock that I like, that southern rock ballad. Easy Thing was the only song on the album that it was one of those I was just kind of eh. For me, it's a consistent, solid album. It's got fantastic geometry.
I literally fell asleep, but that's not even a bad thing. It's nice and mellow. You can put Peter's on in the background while you're just hanging out. The whole album is pretty decent. On That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes, Peter's vocals kind of gave me a David Lee Roth vibe. I don't know why. And on a few more songs, I kind of felt that. It felt a little Van Halen-ish. And that's not a negative, because Peter's voice on the whole album, it does kind of change a little bit. Because at first it's like his normal Peter like screaming voice, and then it's kind of more mellow.
It's too bad that this album wasn't accepted by the Kiss fans as a genuine Kiss album, because I think that had the big fans accepted this album, given him a little more love for it, I think he would have had more of a sense of like, hey, you know, I actually kind of know what I'm doing, because this is a good album. It's solid. It's not a 10 out of 10 amazing album, but it is solid. It's consistent. There is music there, and it shows this jazz vibes. For me, I'm gonna give this album a 6.5 out of 10 for songs. It's not a crazy good album, but it's actually, like, I really enjoy this album. I was telling Cupcake before, I was like, honestly, there's some days that I like Peter's album more than Paul's. I'm gonna say it a 6.5 out of 10 for songs, and what do you think?
I'm thinking a 5. I think a 5 is pretty fair. Even if it makes me fall asleep, that's not a bad thing.
Sliding it over to how it's held up over time, this is where the album falls short, because unfortunately when Peter left the band in 1980, end of 79 and 1980, kind of fell off the radar. So the album, a 2.
I gave Jeans a 1. I'm probably gonna have to give this one a 1 also, which is sad because I like this one more than Jeans, but they both just haven't done anything. They haven't really held up very well.
I think I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 10 just because it defined Peter Criss's character. Unlike Jeans, that was, you know, friggin', I mean, he was the demon, and the first song he was singing like the demon, and by the end he was Tinkerbell, you know. And we're gonna get all kinds of flack from this, but honestly, give us comments. Yeah. Like, we like making videos.
Please comment.
We need some more Chuck fans, so and demands, because you know I'm Russ. But what'd you say? You're gonna give it a 1 out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 1, which sucks, but that's pretty much how it is.
So I'm gonna stick at a 2.5. I think, just because you know, this is the kind of music that I like to listen to, and it is a little bit of a bias, but I don't think Peter ever released another, like, he did release solo albums after, but
he did release a few.
I think this one's the most famous for him, for sure. But with that said, guys, we're going to slide on over to Paul Stanley's solo album, so here we go. Paul Stanley is a 1978 solo album from Paul Stanley, the rhythm guitarist and lead vocalist of American hard rock band Kiss. It was one of 4 solo albums released by the members of Kiss on September 18, 1978. It is the only album of the 4 Kiss solo albums to feature all original songs, as Simmons, Criss, and Frehley each recorded 1 cover song on their albums. The only single from Paul Stanley's solo album was Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We're Apart, released at some point in 1978. The album reached number 40 on the US Billboard album chart, and with that, that's all I have for Paul Stanley. Alright, so up next we have Paul Stanley's solo album, and I'm going to let Cupcake hold this while I pull out the poster. So this is the poster that we were talking about earlier. These came with all 4 of the solo albums, and this is the best condition one that I've got. But this one would have been at the end, and you see that they've got the little like squares and triangles there for it to tie in. Paul's album is probably the most Kiss-like out of the 4. His singing is is amazing and the sound is definitely Kiss. A lot of great songs off the album. Tonight You Belong to Me, followed by Move On, followed by Ain't Quite Right, followed by Wouldn't You Like to Know Me. Take Me Away Together as One is also on there.
Side 2 is It's Alright, Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We're Apart, Love in Chains, and Goodbye.
Like I said before, Paul's probably the most consistent, but less hard rock, in-your-face rock, and more of the glam rock, typical of the late 70s and the late Kiss band. There isn't a whole lot of negative for this song. Honestly, the songs are pretty good. There's a lot of really, really good ones that I like. I actually like listening to Peter's song more than this one, I think, just because for most of the time I actually like listening to that soft classic rock one. But I want to hear a rock album, I will listen to this one. The problem is it's overshadowed by Ace's album. Because if you really want a rock album, that's the one you're going to listen to. It has its place in the solo albums, but it's kind of sandwiched between two. You've got Ace's, which is like the most hard headbanging rock. You've got Paul's, which is the most consistent glam rock. You've got Peter's, which is a classic southern style rock. And then you just have Gene's, who's over there judging himself in the corner. For me, for songs on this album, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10.
I think a 7 is pretty fair, actually, yeah. I like a 7. Take Me Away Together is 1. Awesome song. Love in Chains is a good one. It's Alright is fine. It's alright.
There isn't a whole lot to talk about the song. There isn't much to critique on it, and there isn't much to say of negative. For me, the biggest negative would probably be that the album is so consistent. A lot of the songs sound the same.
Yeah, a lot of the harmonies and some of the riffs all sound very similar. That's not a bad thing, it's just like
something we observe.
Right.
My favorite song off the album would probably have to be Wouldn't You Like to Know Me. That's probably my favorite. But there's so many good songs, you can't go wrong picking this one up. Just like picking Peter's up, you really can't go wrong with picking it up. Now as for how it's held up over time, it's definitely not a 2, but it's not.
No, it's not. I wouldn't even put it as a 5. I think a 4 is probably fair.
Yeah, I was thinking around a 4.5, maybe a 5. Just because the solo albums is so difficult, because when you're in a band and then you release solo albums, you're gonna be remembered for the band, not the solo albums. So I'm probably gonna give it a 4.5 out of 10 for how it's held up over time. It's definitely a classic Kiss album, and if anyone's a real Kiss fan, they'll know about the solo albums. With that said, guys, I think we're going to just close up the Paul Stanley portion of the review and slide on over to Ace Frehley's solo album. And last but not least, we have Ace Frehley's solo album. Ace Frehley is a 1978 solo album from Ace Frehley, the lead guitarist of American hard rock band Kiss. It was one of 4 Kiss solo albums released by Casablanca Records on September 18, 1978. There was only one single from Ace Frehley's album. It was New York Groove, released at some point in 1978. AllMusic rated the album 4 stars out of 5 and said, of the 4 Kiss solo albums, the best of the bunch is Ace Frehley's. Jason Josephace of Pitchfork concurred that it was the standout of the Kiss solo efforts, describing it as a melange of riff rock, power pop, and just a little bit of soul. Alright, so last but certainly not least, we have Ace Frehley's solo album. We'll go over track listings first because we do songs. Side 1 starts off with Rip It Out, followed by Speeding Back to My Baby, followed by Snowblind, followed by Ozone, and side 1 closes off with What's on Your Mind.
Side 2 starts off with the hit, New York Groove, then goes into I'm in Need of Love, Wiped Out, and ends the album with Fractured Mirror.
The songs on this album, I mean, I don't even have to look at my notes. I don't even have to look at the back of the album to know the track listings. This album is the hardest rock sound of the 4 solo albums. It's the best album of the 4 solo albums, and it elevated Ace from being like a mediocre guitar player in the eyes of the general public to being an absolute god. This album is almost nearly perfect. Classic bangers off of this album. It's basically all of them, but for me, the only song that is like below the rest of them is Fractured Mirror. That's like all of the songs on this album are good. They're fantastic. New York Groove is my favorite song out of the solo albums. New York Groove is one of my favorite Kiss songs because it's an anthem. It's like rock and roll all night, but it's an anthem. New York Groove, and it's the chorus at the end that just gets me. You can see Ace up on the stage shaking his freaking guitar, doing the dance and everything. It is a Kiss anthem. It just captures everything that Ace is about. Rip It Out is probably the second best song out of the solo albums for sure. This album by itself, had they just released this album, would have been perfect. I mean, there's nothing bad to say about this album. It's perfect.
I'm just gonna be super nitpicky, but the only 2 songs that I don't love necessarily are What's on Your Mind and Wiped Out.
Really?
There's nothing wrong with them. They're definitely probably better than anything on Paul's album, to be honest. But Like they're just not as tight, I think, as all the other songs. You don't like Snowblind as much, right?
Well, it's okay. So it's funny that you bring up because we're talking about consistency here. I like What's on Your Mind. Snowblind, that one's the heaviest, I think, of the rock on this album.
That's why I like it.
And I like it, but it's sandwiched. But I think it's, and this is being really nitpicky. Like, understand that what we're saying right now is being really nitpicky.
Yeah, no, this is an awesome album.
This is nearly a perfect album. But the reason I don't like Snowblind is the location on the album. Really? Snowblind by itself is an amazing song, but I think Snowblind should have been where New York Groove is. I think New York Groove should have been released on side 1 because they hit you in the face with Rip It Out. And then they do Speeding Back to My Baby, which is like a step back, and then they hit you in the face again with Snowblind. And then the rest of the album kind of digresses into that more classic rock and there's no more hard rock. You can understand how nitpicky we're getting. That's the only reason I don't like Snowblind. And it's not even that I don't like Snowblind, it's the location on the album. Everything else...
That's not a bad argument. I can see that.
This was one of those, I mean, and that's being so nitpicky.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I Wiped Out and What's on Your Mind are great songs. I'm just being like super just edgy at this point. But
I love this album. I have it on CD. I've got a couple of copies of this on vinyl. I have it on, I love this album. I love Ace Frehley. He's probably my favorite Kiss member. I'm going to give this album a 9.5 out of 10 for songs.
Yeah, I want to give it like a 10, obviously, but I'm thinking like an 8.5 is solid. No, it's so good.
You want to give it a 9.5? I'm
going to give it a 9.
Okay,
We're gonna go with
give it a 9. There you go.
0.5.
He'd give it a 10, let's be honest. If we were talking to just Kiss guys, it'd be a perfect 10. The only thing that's holding it back from being almost a perfect 10 is I think if this was a band effort.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like imagine these songs, but with the band. Then
Right.
again, Anton Fig, as the drummer on this album, totally destroys. It's so good.
So, I mean, I'm staying at a 9.5. I don't care if it ticks people off. Ace Frehley's is the generally accepted best solo album.
Yeah.
It kind of, in the beginning, was undershadowed. It was like overshadowed by Paul's. Because everyone expected Paul's and Gene's to be the best.
No one expected Aces to do anything.
You know, and the thing is he came out of nowhere. I still don't understand how Gene scored higher than this on the Billboard charts, but this is what a classic rock, hard rock album looks like. There are very few albums that I've listened to that I can throw on the record player and listen to, and it's so diverse, but yet there was a consistency throughout it. It's got great geometry, but it's got enough diversity to make it unique. That's why it's a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah. That is why it's a 9.5 out of 10. Oh, it's so good.
This is an actual, like, honest review. It's not a crazy in-depth one. If you want to check out an honest, in-depth, really long video, check out our friend Brant. We are here to try to get the younger generation involved in with records. This is young guys talking about music that was released 40 plus years ago. This album is 41 years old, and it's stronger than 90% of the music that's released today. I mean,
only 90?
You could put this album up against the people and it would do better. Just because it's just, we talk about on the channel consistency. You know, you've got a line of consistency, and then you have this zone where you can float around it.
Right.
This album, if the zone is that long and the line's in the middle and you've got that much space to bounce around, Ace is bouncing inside of there like a sine wave, perfectly hitting the corners and expanding his boundaries and staying within what he is good at as an artist. This is why this album is going to score an 8 out of 10 for how it's held up over time, because Ace defined his sound from this album. Classics like Do Ya, his cover of Do Ya, you can hear these songs. This is definitely a must-have for any record collector. If you listen to classic rock at all, you need to get this record. I don't care if you don't like Kiss, you're going to like this record. I'm going to stick with the 8 out of 10 for how it's held up over time. I don't know where your thoughts are. I know you're
right there. An 8 is perfect. All the songs are super good, and even if no normal person's going to know what Rip It Out is, but everyone knows New York Groove.
Yeah,
everyone.
New York Groove. New York Groove is the only song out of these solo albums that became a classic Kiss song.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you don't know the song New York Groove, where were you in the 70s, the late 70s? I mean, it was. They still play it on the radio, and I think I blew my speakers in 2 vehicles when that song came on. Because I crank it. It's so good. With that said, guys, we just reviewed all 4 of the individual solo albums here. Now we're going to talk about worst to best. So the worst album of the 4 is obviously, if you didn't know, Gene Simmons' album. I don't know how this one scored the highest on the Billboard charts. Not that it really means anything, but it's just like, what the frig were the people smoking back in the day?
The third best, or the third worst, whatever, is Peter's. I mean, his is solid, it's just not Kiss. That's kind of the only gripe that I would have. It's just not super Kiss-like, but it's not bad.
Number 2 is Paul Stanley's. It is probably the most Kiss sounding of the 4 albums.
Yeah.
You could argue, and for that time period, Aces sounds like the original 4. Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, and Alive, and even up all the way through Alive 2. I think his is the most consistent there. Paul's started to go more popish, disco-y. Ultimately, what ended up happening was he got Dynasty. Paul scores number 2, and number 1, obviously, we just got done talking about it, but is Ace, obviously. We don't even have to go over that. So, but with that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. It's been crazy, even though like 100 of you actually watch the videos. Check out our merch. We're gonna tag the nice lady that made these for us, and let us know in the comment section below if you guys are interested in buying a shirt. We'll get in touch with you or comment back and tell you how to get in touch with us so we can send you a shirt if it's something that you guys want. This was a trial run for us to see how we would like the merch. Make sure you guys check us out on all our social media. John will put the Snapchat, the Instagram, and the Twitter somewhere. It's been pretty exciting, guys, the past 8 months or whatever we've been doing this. So 1,000 subscribers, you guys are killing it. Thank you so much. And make sure you guys comment below what you guys would like to see. We will see you in the next review, guys. And thank you so much for this continued support. Order our merch. We need money.
10. Thank you to 1,000 of you people for subscribing to this channel. Oh yeah.